And now, the feature so many of our listeners wait for each day.
Producer's Picks.
All right, Jared Diglio, tell us what's on your mind on this beautiful Friday.
All right, well, we've got some good news. Now that Orange Man Bad is out and there are some vaccines and we may be able to have hot dogs in a year and a half, some dates have actually been announced that are of great interest to a very weary people.
What is that?
Mayor One Foot Out the Door Marty Walsh, to go on his big trip to D.C., has announced that outdoor dining for approved restaurants in Boston will begin on March 22nd. It has been moved up from April 1st. Now, there's one way to look at this is, oh, great, the government is allowing us to do things, but outdoor dining, being able to eat outside, I'm sure it'll still be socially distanced, what have you, blah, 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 but being able to go to restaurants starting March 22nd. Good news for people who've been cooped up or people who need to socialize, people who need to get out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm happy about it. Anything that helps the restaurants, right. I'm happy about. But what's the difference between today and March 22nd?
I'm not sure. I'm not a virologist. So I just have to take the government's word that they've made the truce, which the ceasefire, if you will start on March 22nd.
I mean, it's still pretty chilly out anyway.
Yeah.
But people in New York have been eating outside for the whole year.
Right.
They've been sitting on the snowbanks.
And more local dates, the Boston Athletic Association announced that if road races are allowed to take place as part of the Massachusetts reopening plan, the 125th Boston Marathon will be held on Monday, October 11th.
Howie's going to be so happy.
Howie is going to be thrilled. He'll be beside him. I expect you'll see the captain tap dancing on the YouTube feed today. He'll be so excited.
See, Howie and I really differ on how we see marathons. I think it's very cool. As someone who, I went through a running stage once in my life, and I would try to get to a mile, usually. Maybe a mile and a half was my peak. So people who can do that, can run for that long, I do find it to be inspiring. And I give them a lot of kudos. I enjoy the marathons. So I'm happy to see it come back. It's good for businesses. People go to the bars to celebrate. It's fun.
And the MIAA, the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, is now discussing plans to allow for spring sports tournaments for high schools. So high school students who missed out on the last year of they're able to be in tournaments and play sports. A plan is being discussed that in the spring tournaments may return. So people who have, maybe returning seniors who thought they were going to miss their entire senior year might have a chance to play in a tournament. And so high school kids will be able to get back out on the field.
It's so sad, Jared, because, I mean, everyone has different things that this has affected. But for me, I get to come into work every day. Basically, my life has continued, and by the grace of God, everything's kind of been in a routine. We come into work, we get to come into the studio. But for high schoolers, I just feel so bad for them. Like your senior year of high school, do you remember all the stuff? It's like, oh, your last play or your last football game or your last baseball game or your graduation or your prom or, you get to rule the school. Not me. I was a little bit of a nerd, but for some kids, you get to rule the school. And,
right.
And I feel bad for them.
That's really not everybody is going to get a college scholarship. Not everybody is going to go pro. It's very rare. So for a lot of people, that's their last chance to really play professionally, so to speak, organize a sport that they enjoy or something that they enjoy doing, Yeah.
It's sad. It really is. And I feel bad for the college students, too. I know my sister last year, she missed her graduation and all that. She had to do it virtually. But I feel even worse for the high schoolers because high school is just, it's such a monumental part of your life. You remember it so vividly. And it sometimes can be a pain. I mean, there's parts of high school you don't like, but there's also a lot of fun. And you don't get that back. You don't, I don't know. It just makes me sad to think about.
And some good news out of Texas. It seems like that's all there is lately. Pepe Le Pew, they still know ye. A Six Flags in Texas said it would not scrub the amusement park of the Warner Brothers cartoon character Pepe Le Pew after the skunk has faced repeated allegations of, quote-unquote, perpetuating rape culture.
You know what? It's about damn time one company said enough is enough.
Yes, Six Flags Entertainment spokeswoman Sandra Daniels said, quote, "No changes are planned as we assess our guest feedback. regarding this and other intellectual property within our parks.
You know what, Sandra? Just don't read a book about Antifa.
Yes.
Because then you'll have to leave your banjo at the door.
No love for the banjo player. It used to be the bass player, but I guess now it's the banjo player that always gets the kick out, you know?
Jared, you can't apologize unless I'm not of the mindset of never apologize. I'm really not. I apologize a good amount in my life because I'm human. I make mistakes. And if I ever feel like I actually hurt somebody's feelings or something, or I said something that wasn't really what I meant, I apologize. But you can't apologize for things when you didn't do anything wrong. And you know what? Here's a perfect example. It's Friday. And that's why some of this stuff's just popping in my head. I remember during the Brett Kavanaugh thing, the horrible confirmation hearings where they were just dragging him through the mud. And trust me, Brett Kavanaugh has disappointed since a little bit with all of his decisions. But there was no question that he was being maligned with completely insane allegations. And Lindsey Graham looked at him and said, "You have nothing to apologize for." And it was a great moment because sometimes people need to be reminded of that. Like this banjo player, he needed his mom or his sister or somebody to pull him aside and say, "Don't you dare issue a damn apology. You have nothing to apologize for." Because apologizing when you're not really sorry, you lose your dignity. And you don't gain anything from it. They're not after an apology. These woke people are not in the business of forgiveness. They're just in the business of getting you to submit, and then they'll get you canceled, and then they'll write you off as another win for their book.
And one last note about the turnover in New York politics. Cyrus Vance, Manhattan's district attorney, who is leading the witch hunt of Trump's taxes, has said he will not be seeking re-election and he will retire.
Cyrus Vance, he's one of those guys who his priorities were skewed. You know, he had some cases that he really could have. I believe the Harvey Weinstein audio tapes that was under his jurisdiction, you might say, and he passed on that. But he's soft on Weinstein, but he's tough on taxes. Yikes!
Yes, he'll be stepping down or retiring as of December 31st of this year.
I always say this, Jared, but I mean, we think we have it bad in Massachusetts, but wow. In New York, man, the politicians and the people in charge, they are just terrible.
You're about to get a new mayor, a new governor, a new DA, so I can only imagine how moonbatty New York is about to become.
I don't know. Governor de Blasio has a nice ring to it, in my opinion. Guys, 844-500-4242. We'll be back on the other side with Howie Carr. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to The Grace Curley Show.
We are all our